Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Stalker number 1 through 4, a DC sword and sorcery comic from 1975 and 1976. They're written by Paul Levitz, a very young Paul Levitz. He was still in college at the time. And to be honest, they're written kind of poorly. The writing in these isn't very good. In fact, it was hard going rereading these last night, getting ready for this video. I was slogging through reading these. But on the other hand, it has pencils by Steve Ditko, inked by Wally Wood, which is always a great combination. So it's a little bit of heaven and hell there. It's definitely worth having for the art at least. The character's kind of cool. I kind of like this idea of it. But Paul Levitz, every caption box is filled with terrible overwriting and just not very good. Let's crack open the first issue. We'll see what I'm talking about here. Look at that cover, guys. It's so great. That's just picture that on the newsstand and you got a quarter in your pocket. You're a little kid. You got to buy that. All the covers are by Ditko and Wood. I'll give you a little flavor of the writing here. Night winds carry the calm of silence across the walls of Casa Lorenth, reassuring those within that they remain masters of their destiny, and more, masters of their land. But tonight, the night winds speak false. And that is because Stalker is attacking the castle, and he's attacking this guard. So first off, I wanted to mention, you can see it for yourself. Usually Ditko pencils with wood inks is just, it's like honey in my eyes. It's usually so nice. These first two issues aren't that great. I think definitely Wally Wood is a little off his A game in this. Usually he adds such a lush veneer to whatever he's inking. And sometimes he does. He definitely makes Ditko look more smooth, and definitely makes his women more attractive, but not as much as normal. And it's not as illustrative. Like, look at this, for example. It's pretty simple. I mean, that could be Jack Gable inks for all I know. So Wood's a little off. I think he improves third and fourth issue. There's a little more of that Wally Wood, really nice illustrative inking going on. But in these first two, I don't know what happened. And I don't know if maybe Ditko wasn't on his A game either, and didn't give Wood enough to work with. I don't know what happened, but it's still pretty damn nice. So Stalker makes his way through the castle. He finds this beautiful queen sitting at the head of the table of some banquet, and he throws a knife, and it just misses her head, but that's intentional. Quest for a Stolen Soul is the title of this issue. So there's a note attached to this, the knife. And before she reads it, she orders her men to find the would-be assassin. And the note is she's a baroness. He says, once you offered me guest right and gave only pain, then you promised title and gave me but torture. So he's going to pay her back. Basically, he's going to come back in a year and kill her. The torture I collect will be you waiting my return every day. You'll have to think about me coming to kill you. And from the shadows, Stalker is watching. See, some of these panels, you can't even see Ditko. It's totally submerged under Wood's inks. But then some you obviously can. I didn't point out this panel. That is such good Ditko-Wood combo, But you can totally see both artists. So while Stalker is watching this scene below, he basically, his mind wanders back to when he was a little kid. He grew up really poor. His father kicked him out when he was a wee lad, and so he had to grow up on the streets fighting for every scrap of food he got. Look at these poorly drawn Ditko dogs. I've mentioned this before. Ditko, for all of his qualities as an artist, he never learned how to draw animals. He's terrible at drawing animals. And usually, I'd expect Wood to fix these up. But like I said, I don't think Wood was putting a lot into this issue. Maybe he was had some deadlines from some other jobs or something. But yeah, those just look like bad Ditko dogs. I really like this panel though. And so he becomes a little thief as he gets older. But he always dreams about being a knight. So one day he makes his move. He sees that beautiful Baroness. She's being carried through town. And he boldly confronts her and just says, "Let me serve you. You know, I want to be a knight. I'll do anything I can to be in your service." And she says, yeah. She says, "There's always room at Castle Loreth." But she's thinking, especially for one more slave. There's another Ditko Wood hybrid. You can see both the artists in there. So he enters the castle, and pretty soon he finds out that they're not going to teach him how to be a knight or anything like that. He's just a serf. All he does is do menial tasks. And the years go on, and he starts to realize what the hell's going on. So he finally confronts the Baroness, and he says, I wanted to serve you as a knight, not as a scullery maid. And she's like, "Shut the hell up. You'll do whatever I tell you. I own you, basically." And the slave master comes out to give him a good whipping, to teach him a lesson about his impudence. And young Stalker's not having it. Yanks the whip out of his hand, knocks the guy down, and he dives out of the castle and escapes. So then he goes back to Garanth. That's the city where he grew up. And basically in this world, there's like thousands of gods, and they all have their worshipers. And this kid basically, you know, who's going to be Stalker, he doesn't really truck with any gods, but he says, maybe I should. Maybe I should offer my prayers to the demon god of warriors, Degirth. I don't know how to pronounce this. Tgrth. Degirth? There's a lot of dumb names in this comic. It's almost like they let Steve Ditko name all the characters. And he goes inside this temple, and the actual god Degirth pops up in corporeal form. He basically says, "I'll grant you power. You'll basically be the best fighting man ever. I'll teach you all of the martial arts, or just imbue them into you. But you'll owe me your soul." So it's that old deal, you know, selling your soul to the devil. So, of course, Stalker assumes, yeah, you know, my life sucks anyway. When I'm dead, you can have my soul, just as long as I can be this great warrior and attain some fame. And so he sucks his soul out of his body. Kind of a neat panel. And now he truly is Stalker. Degirth even names him. So not only is he a master of all the martial arts, he's a great marksman now, but he also has given the power to follow any trail. And that's why he's called Stalker. Basically, he's the perfect hunter. So now we cut back to the present. Stalker's still skulking in the shadows, kind of watching all these bumbling guards trying to find him. And the slave master finds him from his childhood. And the Stalker gets to teach him a lesson finally. Throws him off the balcony right at the feet of the Baroness. Oh, his name, by the way, is Worth. Yeah, I don't know how to say it either. Wgrth. Wiggerth. Oh, such stupid names. And so Stalker escapes. We see a little touch on a wood color in there, trying to be fancy, which is kind of silly on this newsprint paper, but it's nice that she tried. I just still, you know, even if this wasn't the best Steve Ditko in the early 70s, it's I just always love his layouts, just following his panels. They just flow so well, especially in fight scenes. He's pretty much the master of fight choreography. So basically he goes back to the Shrine of Girth. And I guess there's a priest there. And Stalker says, I wish to speak with your master. And he gives him, the priest gives him this staff so he can balance on this little thing over the fire. And they start fighting. And Stalker gets the best of him and knocks him into this, looks like molten lava down there. And then he rides off. And I'm sorry, before he dies, he tells him that where he can find Girth. I love that last panel, just that last silent panel. That's some of the best art in the comic. So we have The Sword and the Soul. That's the name of the letter page. And, of course, there's no letters in the first issue, so we get a biography of Paul Levitz. And also, I love these, even though this is a pretty bad one, we get a map of the fantasy world. We have the Great Swamp near Nome. Here abide dragons. We have the Burning Isle, which we'll see soon. There's Loranth, the city we saw. And there's Garanth, the other city. And here's the Endless River, which can't be true. Can't be real. And that's about it for the first issue. Pretty good setup for, a nice long story. Another nice cover by Wooden Ditko. So now Stalker has made it to World's End, where the sea spills over into eternity. So basically, this Stalker lives on this other dimension, another planet. This planet is actually how the medieval people thought the world was. A flat Earth, and the oceans would just fall off the edge. It really is like that here. So he's there on his quest. He wants to reclaim his soul. Because it turns out that the Girth kind of tricked him. He took his soul, while he was alive. Stalker didn't realize it at first, but after he killed Girth, the slave master, he felt no joy. It should have been this triumphant moment of revenge. So he realized that the Girth tricked him. Sorry. I just call him Hank or something. Give him another name. I hate saying that name. And then all of a sudden, this demon pops up. Comes right out of the ground. He says, "Hold, intruder, you are not welcome here." He's basically the guard demon. And then Stalker does this pretty cool move by flipping over his horse saddle and landing on the guy. And the demon says, basically, I'm not scared of an unarmed fool. And Stalker says, weapons are wherever they're needed. And he grabs all these bones that are lying around and kind of uses them as this crazy weapon, all these connected bones. But the weird thing is he has a sword. So, I know Stalker is pretty proud, he knows he's pretty kick-ass. But you're fighting a four-armed demon with swords in each hand. Take your sword out. Don't just jump on him and then grab some bones to fight him. So some more nice Ditko fight choreography. And of course Stalker wins. Knocks the guy into the water, knocks this demon. He has a little recap in his brain about what happened. And he continues on his quest. So basically he's trying to get to this temple. And, well, I'll tell you when we get there. There's an even worse name coming up. I like this little sequence of the snake threatening Stalker without even turning around. He just throws his knife and impales his head. Yeah, whenever like Ditko and Wood can get away with a few silent panels, I like this comic. But Paul Levitz keeps peppering it with these shitty captions. It's that kind of stuff, like just to fill up caption boxes. This actually is kind of nonsense. The sounds of silence reign here at World's End. The distant roaring of water rushing to meet the unknown. So, you just said it's silent, and then you're saying how it has this constant roaring of water in the background. So it's just like dumb little things like that, just to, I don't know, waste space. I guess he wants to feel like he's earning his paycheck. And so he sees some of de Girth's, lackeys. You can tell by they're kind of half demonoid. And none of them have eyeballs, just like him. So he attacks one of them and takes his garb, and he sneaks in with them. Wood gets to draw some bodacious babes here. I guess they captured them to be slaves. See, look at this. I don't even see wood in there. I don't see wood inks at all. This just looks like Ditko. A lot of these panels, Wood's really not doing what he usually does. Obviously, with the girls, he does, because he likes drawing women. Those don't even look like Ditko women. It's nice to see some silent panels. So, okay, this high priest of de Girth, I'm not kidding you guys, his name's Flan. There's a little apostrophe in there, but it's spelled Flan. So, I don't know if he hangs out with, like, Colonel Custard and Blancmange or something. But I'll stop that. Ugh. Those are crime brulees against the laws of humor. I'm sorry. But I swear to God, guys, his name's Flan. And they figure out the Stalker is incognito. They pull off his robe. And even though Stalker's an amazing fighter, they all attack him at once and they subdue him. Stalker wakes up in a cell. This woman comes to his window and says, "You gotta help me. You gotta help me get out of here." They're basically going to sacrifice you to de Girth tomorrow at the World's End, right where the water flows over the edge. So she throws him a knife, and she tells him, just jump over the edge. There's actually nooks and crannies there, little holes in the wall where you can kind of, it'll appear that you jump to your death, but you can actually get into one of these things. So the next morning they take him to this altar. You can see the World's End here. Once again, I don't see much wood in here, or just a very sloppy wood. And when they're about to sacrifice him, Stalker starts kicking ass and he leaps over the edge. And just as the woman told him, he found a little crevice to hide out in. But the Flan and his lackeys, they're like, "Oh, wow, he took his own life. That's crazy." So if this woman who has just been a captive of the castle for a little while knows about this, you'd think these guys would know by now that there are these crevices and someone can get down there. I mean, this is their fiefdom. Sorry to be nitpicky, but there's a lot of stupid things in this comic. So that woman who gave Stalker the knife, I don't know how, but they figured out she was the one. And so they're torturing her by putting her on the spinning wheel, which, I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be pleasant. But I don't know, I could picture much worse tortures than that. You'd get dizzy, you'd have some nausea. But this woman admits, I'm sorry, she relents and tells them where Stalker is. But Stalker's not there anymore. And as he sends the guards out to find Stalker, Stalker's there, and I love this sequence here. The camera's kind of below, and the way Stalker swings down right into the camera to attack Flan. Sorry, it's hard to say. This bad villain named Flan. And then we got some nice little fight choreography again. The guards come in. Flan tells his men to go seize him. And of course, that's easier said than done. And Stalker defeats them. And then he takes off with the woman. But before he does, he straps Flan to the Wheel of Fortune and spins it. And he's like, no. It's like, that's not really that bad. It's not really just desserts. Has another nice silent panel. And I guess Stalker lights this little bridge that goes out to their island on fire. And she basically wants to hook up with Stalker and continue to travel with him, but he says, no, where I'm headed, it's no place for you. And he sends her off. So basically what he learned from Flan is now he has to find the gateway to hell. That's where Degirth is, because he has to find Degirth. We have another little one-page editorial type page about Stalker's world. Explains a little bit about this crazy sword and sorcery planet. It's so nice, these comics from this early 70s. All the ads were on one register. And when I discovered that years ago, I ripped them all out. You can easily rip them all out without ripping out any other pages. These comics are so thin because all the ads are gone. It's like watching a movie without commercials. Oh, I should give you a little second to look at that cover. Not as good as the first two, but yeah, it's still Ditko wood. So now we have the freezing flames of the burning isle. And here we see Degirth again. So Stalker's in this little boat. He's trying to get to this certain island where the gate of hell is. And this island is not very hospitable. It's, as you can see, the ocean's always like this to keep people away. Kind of wicked, cool, zany fire effects going on here from Ditko and Wood. This harpy attacks him and basically knocks him out. And he falls into the water. And the harpy's looming over him. I could see a little more Wally Wood effort in this issue. Like just these rocks. Just this, a little more detail. So Stalker wakes up and there's this beautiful woman there. She says, I've been trapped here for a year. Her name's Srani. Sarani? S-R-A-N-I. I don't know. Another stupid name. So this is the Burning Isle. It's her home. She doesn't want it to be, but it is. So it says the Burning Isle should never have existed. It's just above the South Pole, in the middle of all these icebergs. But there's a volcano in the middle that kind of keeps it, part of it, warm. So she tells him that she even built a boat. She wanted to sail away, but she couldn't. As soon as she took to sea, her hopes were dashed. I guess, the ocean was just too violent. But on top of that, she says, there's these monsters, like right off the coast. There's the boat she built. So Stalker says, nah, I'll take care of it for you. And he goes out basically just waiting for the monster to attack. I like the energy of that Ditko, the body language there. So this multi-headed thing attacks. Almost looks a little silly. And he defeats them. Srani's very grateful And he says, yeah, you can sail off now. The monster's dead. But she's like, no, I want to show you around the island so you can find the gateway. I'm sorry, she says, there is no gateway here, but I'll show you around the island. Because there's lots of dangers here, and I know, how to navigate this place. And we keep seeing these interludes of Degirth watching them through this magic screen. This is a really interesting storytelling technique, even though I didn't like it when I was reading it, because I wasn't quite sure, so I was reading it like normal. But, this is a big gutter. So I think they did due diligence. It's just I was too dumb to pick it up at the first page. But it's got two narratives. And then they meet. So while Sereni and Stalker are talking, just kind of walking around talking, we also see basically this omniscient narrator talking about this island. How there's demonic forces there. And we see this demon coalesce, and he's stalking them as they talk, and then it all connects. I think in the hands of a good writer, someone who likes to play with form, this could be a really good, interesting storytelling device. But it doesn't really seem to bounce off each other. I do like how it is black and white, though. That's another clue that you're supposed to read this and then read this. But, I'm dumb. So now we get another little demonic fight scene. Kind of looks like the way Ditko draws Man-Bat. And, of course, Stalker wins again. Breaks his back. Another interlude. And so I guess there's more to Stalker's world than just sword and sorcery. I guess a long time ago, a millennia ago, these basically aliens from another world landed. They call them gods. The gods from the stars. And they came to rule men, but mankind threw off their yoke and banished them through this door. So basically, it's the doorway to hell. And then Stalker says, I remember this tale now, how one of the gods stayed behind to guard the door. He says, I now know why the gate of hell should be in this frozen and desolate spot. 'Tis not because Degirth chose it so, 'tis merely the doorway to his place of exile. And then Sereni, I can't remember her name already, Serena, she changes to the harpy. So she was the harpy at the beginning. You are too wise for your own good. And Stalker has a great rebuttal of that. No, I was too wise for your good. And then she attacks Stalker. That's another nice panel there. Almost reminds me of Hubert and the way the bodies are. So they're having this great aerial fight. And Stalker makes her crash to the ground. Then she changes again, because she's a changeling. Not just a harpy. Turns into this fire being. And she shows them the door. The gateway to hell. And she disappears. He's won. And he opens the door. And he goes inside. And now we finally got some letter pages. Some letters. And let's get on to the fourth issue here. Oh, that's a pretty cool cover. Beware the man with the stolen soul. So he's in hell. First thing he sees is this three-headed dude. He's not a dog, but it's like Cerberus, but he's a dude. Invade the inferno. Taste the rainbow. Cerberus has got this like whip, barbed wire whip. See, we can totally see the wood here. It looks like Wood is still putting the effort in. More so than those first two issues. And of course, Stalker defeats this guy. He always wins. And then all of a sudden, this guy shows up. This imp. Very Mr. Mixoplexy. Really stupid looking. Really obnoxious. And he basically says, I'll guide you through hell. And he shows them, these are like almost the Valhalla part of hell. These are all the heroes who are condemned to hell because of their life of violence, but they weren't that bad. They were just soldiers. So they're not tortured like the other sinners in hell as much, but they're stuck in hell, so it's not good. And they basically have a prophecy that one day the best warrior of all will come down to hell and lead them to fight Digurth. Another interlude. It's just getting tedious. Just showing Digurth like talking to himself about like, oh, I'm gonna get you, Stalker. So the imp keeps popping in and out of existence, just like Mr. Mixoplick. All of a sudden, these the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's also paved with skeletons, and all these skeletons come to life, just like a Ray Harryhausen movie. And they try to drag him down. Basically, I thought this was a fun idea. These skeletons are cursed to be forever trod upon, unless they can capture a living intruder and offer his skeleton to Digurth in exchange for their freedom. So they're fighting for their right to not be a part of this road. So, of course, they're fighting very intently. And then the imp shows up, and he's holding the skull. And basically, it seems like that's the talisman that's making these skeletons come to life. So, Stalker picks up a blade and crushes the skull that the imp is holding. All the other skeletons fall down. He was correct in his assumption. So he meets all these other monsters. And he realizes that they're not real. So he just stands still. Lets this dragon breathe fire on him. Doesn't burn him. Because it's not there. Another interlude. I just love the way... I kind of like the way Digurth looks, though. It's so just, like, simple, but kind of cool looking. It's just an interesting page to me. So the imp is basically, basically taunting Stalker. And then the imp sends Stalker to the void. I love these panels here with the white backgrounds. So Stalker's floating through the void. And apparently, this is usually just lasts for eternity. But Stalker has such will. He basically wills himself out of this void. God, just these two panels look so good to me. And it works. So he's basically willed himself to exactly where he wants to be. The front door of Digurth's castle. And so finally, he's going to get to confront Digurth. But first, he turns back. And he goes to those warriors. And they are like, the greatest warrior of all time, hail. And so it looks like it's going to be this final battle. This is Stalker's the guys they've been waiting for a millennia. Who's going to lead them against Digurth. There's a really good Wally-Wood panel there. I mean, I know Steve Ditko did the pencils, but that's wood. That's why that panel's nice. So Stalker leads the armies to the castle. Digurth is outraged. He's just like, he was just a peasant when I found him. I can't believe he's leading an army against me in my own realm. So he unleashes all these fiery demons, and the battle is engaged. Once again, you can see This is not Wood at his best. And maybe it's not Ditko at his best either. So Stalker enters the castle, finally to confront Girth, and tells him he wants his soul back. And after all this crap, Girth says, even if I wanted to, I couldn't. He's an elder god, he explains. And he lives on the power of belief. Your soul, your token of belief, is now a part of me for eternity. The only way you'll be able to get it back is for me to die. And the only way I can die or cease to exist is if not a single mortal believes in me anymore. So basically, as long as there's evil men on Earth, evil people, yeah, he can't die. And of course, there always will be. But Stalker doesn't accept that. Stalker says, fine, I have a new mission. I'm going to kill every evil person in the world. And then you'll wither away, and then I'll get my soul back. And he says, well, you can try to do that. But in all of that fighting, you might get slain. And if you die, you will be damned and in my power. And I promise you the most painful damnation in the eons-long history of hell. And so all of a sudden, Stalker pops up back in the real world, and he makes his vow to the heavens. I accept your challenge, Girth. I shall banish evil from this world. My soul shall yet be mine. So we find out in the letter page here that Paul Levitz kind of knew they might be canceled. They were even asking, pleading with readers to buy more copies and spread the word. So luckily they could make it to 4, and Paul Levitz could at least wrap up this first story arc. So it doesn't leave it exactly hanging. But I imagine the remaining issues would just be Stalker basically being like a sword and sorcery superhero, trying to stop all evil, but not just to be a good guy, just so he can get his soul back. So it's still kind of an interesting idea for a sword and sorcery character. I wouldn't mind reading more Stalker, kind of for some dopey fun. But, yeah, not the best, just mainly because the writing. It's so sad with the concept and the beautiful art. What could have been with this comic, as long as they just had a decent writer who wasn't really annoying. And it could have been a pretty fun, comic book. But I still think it was kind of fun. Just all the crazy characters and the beautiful art. So even though it's not as beautiful as I wanted it to be. But still, like Ditko and Wood half-assing it is still pretty damn nice. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed looking at these. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.